Hello and welcome to Voices of the Dream. Today our episode features Paullus Quinctilius Barbatus. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Paullus.
Salvete, amices. I'm Paullus Quinctilius Barbatus, as he had said. I serve as the ANS officer for the Canton of Caladphort and also the ANS officer for the Barony of Glymm Mere. I've played in the SCA since AS 38, 2003, I believe, if I got my numbers right. But recently, having moved to the Canton out here, have taken on a larger role as a leader. And as you may have guessed, I am a Roman. I was born 15 days before the calends of January, which would be the December 20th, in the year of Nero and the consul Silius Italicus. And that's just a very fancy way of saying 68 CE. The Romans, we had our own way of dating things. Of course, it wouldn't be by that type of a numerical system. Each year is by the consul that serves with the emperor, or in some cases, the two consuls, or when we're feeling like frequent changes in leadership and consuls develop leaks because they could too. There's many. So it's the year of the emperor and whatever consul that happens to be serving on the day of your birth. 68 CE, December 20th, is smack dab in the middle of Saturnalia. So my birth was hailed as quite auspicious, and took the time to find out that I was born in the first quarter of the new moon at that time. And don't know if that part would be auspicious, but as you may have guessed, I just subtracted 1900 years from my birth in modern times and wondered what I would have done had my career taken its course then as it did now. I was born in the city of Nemesis, which is actually Nimes, which I believe is how it's modernly pronounced. Established first as a Roman colony under the reign of Augustus. Known for its entertainment, amphitheater, theater, circuses, which is an important point we'll come to later on in my little story here. I am the younger of two sons of Publius Quinctilius Barbatus, and the name survives directly from our many times great-grandfather, Lucius Cornelius Scipio Barbatus. And if anybody is familiar with Roman history, the Scipios are quite well known. One of them, Africanus, somewhat my direct ancestor. He finally bounced Hannibal out of Rome and sent him packing. So it's quite the honor to be a member of what's known as a military family, even if one of my namesake under the Emperor Augustus lost 3 legions. So military is as it may be. You take your chances in systems such as that. And my brother was actually in the Battle of Mons Grappius in Britannia, serving under Agricola, which was or Agricola, as some may call him, one of the greatest generals of the time. So we are connected quite well across the military amphitheater and theater. Again, I find myself what is known as a frumentari. I took the oath of service for 26 years under my emperor at the time, Domitian, and served his full name, Kaiser Domitianus Augustus and the consul Octavius Titius Tocianus. And we do like our names. It goes on from there. But this is recorded in my diploma for the year that I was enlisted. We like to send our legionaries as far away from home so that they can learn the ways of other cultures within the empire and, well, not conspire with those that they might have rebellious connections to, as in their family, and therefore may have to be called to put the sword to those that they grew up with. It's easier to just assign each of us to the farthest reaches of the empire as a far away from home. I had the benefit, and I do say that loosely, of growing up within Rome Eterna, Rome Urbe Eterna, I should say, the Eternal City. And so I was sent to Hispania Tarraconensis, which is northern Spain as we know it, assigned to the 7th Legion, Legio 7th Gemina, which means it was a split from a legion of the same name, and so named the same, Gemina. It's sometimes we're painfully simple in our naming processes. Sometimes we get pretty complex, as we'll see later on. The general I was assigned to was Marcus Ulpius Trajanus, later on known as Emperor Trajan. Due to my family's good standing and my father's exceptional military career and rank, he was able to afford what is known as a pedagogue, a teacher for my brother and I as part of a community school, which was not entirely unheard of. A little more common than one would think for those that could afford it. And as a result, I am literate and numerate. And when that was found out, I was immediately made an immunes and a beneficarius, which is a very high-minded way of saying administrative gopher. I was assigned to the general staff because I could read and count. And along my path of rank, I became a librarius, which maintained the records and bookkeeping and so forth. And from there, I was promoted to the frumentari, which are the grain finders. A legion requires roughly 6,000 to 7,000 metric tons of grain to move every 10 days. That is an amazing amount of grain finding that one has to do, and that's what we were known as, the frumentari, the grain finders. And we were also the quartermasters. And as a result, we controlled all of the Legion's equipment. And we had it maintained and we had it repaired. And even though we didn't do it ourselves, we were the administrative overseers. We were the bureaucrats that reported to the general. But also the frumentari, in their grain procurement, was out and about among the civil populace, whether it be the Gauls, the Celts, or whomever, and they would hear the local scuttlebutt. And so they would bring that information back to the general staff, and that would be, well, intelligence, as we would call it by its modern terms. Well, it was also found out that the grain finders were going as far afield as they could in finding what they needed to do, and were making it to other settlements. And so they were being employed as couriers. So the job just kind of grew farther and farther out. And under my current emperor, now Hadrian, we have evolved into the core that we are and will not be honestly respected for fairly soon. We will read the messages under payment for it and report to whatever senator or merchant, or maybe the emperor himself wants to know about the goings on of a certain other. So we had to maintain the air of honor while also being paid to do a very dishonorable thing. It's that split that a secret agent always did and always has had to maintain. So we went from the quartermasters, the supply sergeants, to secret agents, and had to maintain the spread between. This is the Frumentari, and this is to the group I was assigned to simply because I had spent time as the bookkeeper and was literate and numerate. Sometimes that's all it took for promotion. I had a distinguished career fighting Germanic tribes in both the Dacian Wars, the Dacian Wars, under which I was promoted to centurion in the year of the Emperor Trajan himself, Kaiser Nerva Trajanus Augustus, and the consuls, very many names to follow. They went through 2 consuls and 2 suffect consuls that year. From there, I accompanied the Emperor Trajan on his progress back to Rome and participated in his triumph parade. After the Dacian Wars, I had made it to the point of I could have retired, as we would call it. My contract had been complete, but I had a good life, because the other thing that legionaries were encouraged, and all of us were always encouraged to do, especially during peacetime, was find a side business. There are letters from emperors congratulating the acumen of certain legionaries on their businesses and their business practices. It is an amazing thing, but they understood that a bored legionary is a bad thing to have. And so, as couriers, we would take pay. We take pay for carrying letters home, or from home to the soldier, or maybe the one legionary to another, or a centurion who knows another on another staff. We made quite a good life for ourselves under such a form of remuneration. Very fancy way of saying that we definitely took payment for carrying anything that anybody had for us to carry. After the Dacian Wars, as I said, my time was up, but I found a good home, so I stayed. But since I was under the emperor's staff, I was referred to as, I became, a centurion evocatus, a cantorio evocatus, a centurion recalled to duty by the emperor. Basically, I didn't want to go. I had a good life. Assigned then to the first legion adiutrix, which means the rescuers, or sometimes the attachment, sometimes the help. Basically, the extras, even though it's a full legion. Assigned to Trajan's Bridge. Here, I began to perform the full duties of the Frumentari as a centurion. Procure grain, perform courier duties as required or even requested by the general staff. Train and develop other Frumentari. Also, since I was assigned to a small settlement, to serve as a magistratus pro tempore, or what was referred to as a municipal senator, with 2 other centurions, providing Rome's counsel, as it were, to the local city council of a Romanian named city that is I'm going to probably mangle here, still bears the name to this day, Poralisum. Poralisum. In my time with the First Legion, I also became an archivist and a researcher, something I still practice at this time. In my scant bit of leisure time, I became quite the epicure, learning to cook. My skills often requested the spice of the bland offerings, even though I'm the one that brought those bland offerings. Um, Also, because of my long number of years and miles spent on the road, I've gathered many stories, and I've become a storyteller, pursuing all sorts of research to the bardic arts. Currently, for me, it is the year of the consuls Quinctilius Barbatus and Lucius Valerianus, and the Emperor Hadrian. And I have new orders. While our emperor is going to Britannia to shore up the defenses of the farthest northern frontiers of our empire, I'm to serve as an embassy in an embassy function, as a special envoy, beneficarius consularis, the governor's staff, with an allied kingdom. I will be based near one of their central western regions in what they refer to as the Barony of Glymm Mere. For tomorrow, I set out for the Kingdom of An Tir, the sable lion, and its barony, the glistening waters. I will reside in this barony's smaller settlement to its west, the town known as the Canton of Caladphort, the safe and welcoming harbor. I look forward to this new assignment and unique opportunity. This is the vow I gave my emperor. I shall demonstrate all the virtues of a Roman citizen in all affairs, civil, public, and private. Civis Romanus sum pia fidelis, ergo ego sum Romae. I am a Roman citizen, pious and faithful. Therefore, I am Rome.
Very nice. I love the detail you put into that, and it was like a history lesson on top of the stories. Very enjoyable. Thank you very much, Paullus, for joining us and sharing your story.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And that is Voices of the Dream. Until next time.